everybody, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to show you how I made this little cat kind of coming out of a little coffee cup, and this was actually inspired by the squishy that I got in my TomTop package, and this was just a little cat kind of coming out of a coffee cup. I'm going to squish it here for you because I'm not that mean to show you it and not squish it throughout the video. So yeah, I absolutely love this squishy even though it was full of defects, but yeah, it just squishes really nicely. Anyway, moving on to the DIY, what I did was took a thin strip of mint coloured plush fabric and I just folded it on itself, cut a bit off and then pinned it in place. I then took a pen and just drew out two kind of diagonal lines, and what I did was stitched up one of these lines. I actually left the other one unstitched and we'll come back to that shape later. As with all my sewing DIYs, you can hand sew this, machine sew it or use fabric glue if you want to. So next, taking the same mint colour fabric again, I just kind of pinned a bit like on itself and then just cut a small square out. I then made a little semicircle shape with my pen again and just stitched this by hand and just basically went in and out using a simple stitch. Like I said, you can hand sew this or machine sew it. Fabric glue might be a little bit tricky on the smaller parts, so I do always recommend kind of stitching the smaller, more detailed parts of plushies. Once I had the shape fully sewn, I then just cut off all the excess and just kind of cut little snips out of it. And then I went ahead and drew out another semicircle shape on the inside of that one and just stitched this round also. Once fully stitched, I then went ahead and cut out all the excess in the middle of that section, and you just want to make sure you get the most gone as possible, and then put little snips on the inside of that curve again. You'll also want to make sure that all the curves on the outside have lots of snips in them, and this will really help to turn this piece inside out. What you then want to do is turn this piece inside out. You may need a little tool to do this, so I actually use my dotting tool just to kind of push it through and really help turn it inside out. I then stuffed this little shape with the dotting tool again. Having a little tool really helps to kind of get it in these smaller shapes if they're too small to get your finger in, so that's a good tip there. So once you have your little kind of handle shape, you'll then want to just pop it into the shape that we made earlier. You'll want to make sure that the ends of the handle are pointing outwards and that you stitch through it so that it gets really secure in that side. So I just pinned them in place and then just sewed over it by hand, making sure to really kind of incorporate the cup handles in. I then turned this out to make sure that it was all kind of like attached, and then just turned it back the wrong way around again to cut off the excess. So in order to make the cup kind of secure, I just took a small circle of the same mint coloured fabric again and I just placed this on top. Now the cup shape is actually inside out and the circle is facing down so that all the right sides of the inside of the cup and the inside of the circle are facing the right way. I just kind of pinched this with my left hand and just sewed around, making a nice circle shape on the bottom of that circle. And I did have a lot of excess here, but I wanted to make sure that it was plenty big enough so that when I turned it inside out there was no holes. Next, I went ahead and just stuffed this shape completely full with toy stuffing. Because I could kind of get my hands inside of it this time, it was really easy to stuff this bit up. Anyway, so to move on to kind of like securing all that toy stuffing inside, I then took a circle of brown plush fabric and I just sewed it on to one of the sides. To do this, I just kind of like placed it on the side and just made one really big stitch to secure it in place, and then with my left hand I just started folding it around the circle shape along the top and then stitching with my right hand to keep it in place. So as you can see here, I just kind of fold it over and stitch with my right hand, fold it over, stitch with my right hand, just to get it really in place. Now to do this, it's quite, I don't want to say tricky, it's not tricky, it's just really fiddly to do, so it might take a little bit of practice to get this bit right. Next, taking some white plush fabric, I just drew out a rough little cat shape just of like the cat's head, and I actually went ahead and sewed this with my machine as I was running out of time this morning to kind of get this plushie completely made, uploaded for today. So yeah, I just sewed this with my machine. I just made some little cuts in it and then turned it inside out with my dotting tool again. What I then did was went ahead and added some toy safety eyes to the plushie. Now mine were actually a little bit too big, and I think that's why my cat looks a little bit weird. I would have preferred some slightly smaller eyes, but these were actually the smallest ones that I had left, as I made a few little plushies over the weekend, and yeah, I just didn't have any small ones left, so I definitely need to order some of those. Anyway, to attach them, I just did the usual. I cut little holes, poked them through and popped the washer onto the back. And then what I did was moved on to stuff this little shape up. Again, using my dotting tool to help get the stuffing really quite far into the ears, I just added more and more stuffing to build it up into a nice plushy kind of density. So what you want to do is just fill it up all the way to the top and then just fold in any excess bits that you have at the bottom. I actually went ahead and added a lot more stuffing than I usually would, just because I wanted this cat's head to be quite fat and full and just look like much bigger than the coffee cup in comparison, so I just went ahead and added even more toy stuffing. Then what I did was took a needle and thread, again with white thread on the needle, I just kind of threaded this through and tacked it onto the top. Now I did this first to add loads of loose stitches to get it really in place, and then I went over and over and over by stitching loads and loads of little stitches into this to make sure it's really nice and secure. Doing a few loose stitches to begin with when you've got something this fiddly really helps you out to get a really secure finish. So yeah, I do recommend doing some small stitches as well as some bigger ones. Once the head was fully attached to the coffee cup, I then moved on with some black puffy paint, and this was just the 3D fabric paint by Scribbles. Not the usual actual puffy paint by Tulip that I use, but this worked just fine, and I just kind of used that with my dotting tool and just painted on a little mouth in between the eyes. Next I moved on with two little white pom-poms, just decided where I wanted to position these and popped them onto the front of the cat, and this was to kind of act as its little paws. Now I wasn't actually going to add these, but on the squishy that I kind of based this off, they had little paws on and I thought they were so cute, so I kind of didn't want to miss it, so yeah, I just really like how they look, so yeah, I would totally recommend putting those on. So what I then did was added a keychain to the top of the little plushie, and this was just to make it into a keychain, as I made my plushie quite small as I need it for something in the future, which we'll find out about very soon. So yeah, you can really make this as big or small as you want, by the way, just scale it up, scale it down, however big you want it. But I just wanted mine to be a keychain, like I said, so I added that onto the top. Once the keychain was fully in place, my plushie cat coffee keychain thingy was then complete. So I'm super happy with how this turned out. I'm super excited to be doing plushies all this week because obviously I did a poll and you guys voted for it. So yeah, I'm just really excited to kind of do some little different designs. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye!